We're going to hear about Anita Budak. She's going to talk about reframing, advocacy, and empowering women to use their rights. Anita Budak is a birth doula from Croatia, leading the Croatian Doula Association for 10 years and co-organizing the European Doula Network since 2021. Since 2015, she has been advocating for human rights in childbirth, initiating a free program in Croatia to educate pregnant women and partners on informed consent, bodily autonomy, and birth responsibility within institutional settings. Anita, thank you so much for joining us today. We have been back and forth with the emails, and finally we meet each other.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Looking forward to speak about this important subject, and I am so happy that you reached out to European Doula Network about this subject. So I will share my slides so we can start, so not to lose time, that we have little. Just a moment. Okay, so as Susanna mentioned, I am a birth doula who lives in Croatia, and I'm a doula for 11 years. And 10 years ago, I started this program, a free program. It is a cross of civil education and health education for women and their partners, focused on the birth. So why is this important? Because I live in a country where the midwifery is completely pushed out. We only have hospital births, no possibilities of home births. And so women are really not happy with this lack of choices. And as a doula who has 99% hospital births, I realized really quickly that we need to reframe how to help these women in the system regarding their violations of human rights. Before I start about our program, I just wanted to mention that in our European Doula Network, we started our first big survey for doulas across Europe, where we also, among other things, asked about what are their experiences witnessing the human rights violation. And I will just quickly show you just one part of it. And if you're interested, I can send you the more of this. So if you can see, doulas from Europe, 485 responded to these questions about how have they witnessed human rights violation as a doula. So once said 30%, couple of times 42%, most of the time 30%, never 14%, and not that they are aware of 18%. And when we go and ask them what kind of violations have they witnessed, you can see that actually it's a very, very terrifying statistics. In many countries, they are lower statistics. In many countries, they are much higher. So this is statistics of all doulas from all the countries that have said, but there is no country where there is no violations of human rights. So as you see, no informed consent before medical intervention, 68% of them said that they have witnessed. Denial of bodily autonomy, right to movement, food, drink, toilet, 56%. Emotional coercion, 58%. Physical abuse or restraint, 27%. Verbal abuse, humiliation, 47%. And 12% of them have not witnessed any of this kind of violations. So doulas have this adjective next to them that we are advocating for women, and this is actually what I will be speaking about, the role of doulas in this medical system and how we can try to help women to use their rights, because their rights are there, they have it. So what is the advocating? Advocate means, this is what Dr. Google says, getting support from other person to help you express your views and wishes and to help you stand up for your rights. Doulas are confused with this. Many doulas have entered a really not so helpful pattern of advocating, and I will try to explain maybe the better way how to do it. When we speak about the human rights in childbirth, there are many of them, but in my program, I have detected that these are the two fundamental and key one that prevent violent and unwanted practices. It's bodily autonomy and informed consent. It should be informed choice, because consent implies that you will say yes. But when we speak about the bodily autonomy, we usually think about the right to refuse that anything is done to our body, but we are actually forgetting the basic bodily autonomy, and that is the right to movement. And this is something that we are teaching our women and trying to light the little lamp in their head that they have the right to move. But in the reality of the birth, autonomy, bodily autonomy, especially in the hospital, is not respected. Women are lying on their back, not moving. Positions are not just directed by the medical staff, but also by the furniture. It is very interesting to finally realize that women ask for furniture to be in position. So we have understood that not only that the bodily autonomy is dictated by the hospital and the staff and the culture, it is also dictated by our view, what we should do or shouldn't do in the birth. And informed consent in the reality of birth, unfortunately, this is not, I don't think that anywhere in the whole world it works properly because of lack of time, the emergency. But we have seen that the informed consent is actually switched with the emotional coercion. So if a woman asks, why do I need this augmentation of birth? Why do I need syntocinon? It's not that they will likely get an answer, but sometimes they will get the question, do you think about your baby? And when you are in fear and in birth, then it seems like this is the answer to your question, that your baby is in danger. But we know that this is just a short way, a shortcut to get yes from a woman. So this is also very, very worrisome. So what we have to understand as a doula is when we are advocating or trying to help women to stand for their rights, is that we should never take the power from a woman and her and speak instead of her, because then we do not we are taking the place as already there are doctors and other people in their lives. So supporting the aggressor-victim dynamic should be really outside of a doula scope. So let me tell you something about this triangle, how it is viewed in a general population, what is going on in the medical system, in the birthing rooms. So we have this triangle of the aggressor, which is typically the medical staff who are pushing their own agenda on birth. We have the victim, the mother who is giving birth, and then the savior, the doula, who should somehow protect the woman. But of course, these roles shift so easily. Sometimes we have the aggressor who is the mother who is trying to push her own on a really aggressive way. Point of view. We have the medical staff that are sometimes really victimized by the clients. We have medical staff that are victimized by doulas who can be aggressor, and the doctors can be saviors. So this is shifting constantly, and this paradigm is not working. And as long as we are in this position as a birth supporters, we will never get out of this human rights violation, and we will not have the empowered births. So we need to step out of the pattern, Doulas need to be able to support women to use their rights, not to demand their rights. The rights are there. There is nobody who can prevent your body movement. But we have to understand also as doulas and as the birth supporters, as anybody who enters the birth, what is our own experience with the medical authority, with the authority? Are we in our own life in this pattern of victim, savior, or aggressor role? So why is this medical system so inclined to the human rights violation? So for this system to work, our women who give birth needs to be obedient patients, because if they are not obedient, the system will fall apart. There are too much patients, especially in the large hospitals, too little staff. The idea is to have to all women to have this good quality healthcare, but there is a cost to this. We cannot give them a time that they need and specialties that they need in the system where we have too much patient and too little staff. Management of the delivery floor. We are forgetting that doctors and nurses and midwives are not just there to help women to give birth and support them. They also have to manage all the process. The delivery rooms are like emergency centers. You never know how many women will come in labor, what will be their health condition, what will be the baby's condition. That is additional enormous stress to the medical workers that women are really not aware of. Secondary trauma. I would say that the birth workers, especially ones who work in hospitals, are suffering from secondary trauma, many of them with the PTSD, because they have seen so many traumatic experiences, participated in so many traumatic deliveries, births, and without any supervision, support, psychological support, peer support. We are really putting too much on these medical workers, and it is not really a surprise that this is happening when you put all of this together. Of course, many of them, because of all of this, have the fear of birth. You cannot be exposed to all of this for many years and still be very relaxed around the birth. And of course, the fear of lawsuits, which is another layer that pushes the doctors and midwives and nurses to be very strict in the rules and regulations. So, of course, patients needs to be managed. The protocol and routine are steering everybody in this direction, and interventions are usually a tool of managing to speed up the process. Not every intervention, of course, but usually the routine interventions are. So what is the cost of disobedience in childbirth? Because there is a cost. Women are experiencing more intervention than needed. They feel loss of autonomy. And I don't know, have you ever heard this? But I have listened to this from many, many women that they say they feel that the birth is taken away from them. So culture plays a big role in this pattern of fear around the birth and pushing women to be more obedient and to give themselves to the authority of the birth authority, the medical system. So the birth is dangerous, the birth is painful. You have to listen to the doctors. Everything here is actually coming out from the fear of the birth and not understanding the whole process from the all sides, not just the birth side. And working with women through this Human Rights in Childbirth project, and as a doula, I have detected that we have two categories of women. So we have two strategies how women usually deal with this medical system. So first one is the one who are compliant with the medical expert. So women in this category, they rely on professionals for guidance and decision making, which is nothing wrong with it. And they are less likely to hire a doula. But what happens in this category? They are very much fearful, and they would they will not be able to take the autonomy in birth. They have outsourced their responsibility and gave up their autonomy actually by completely trusting the doctors. These are not women who are collaborating with the doctors. These are women who say, okay, I don't need to know anything. The doctor will help me. He will save me. So putting the doctors in the savior category. And then we have another category, which is completely different, but based at the same level on the fear of birth and what will happen. So these are fighters, women who will be very, very actively avoiding unnecessary intervention. They will fight for their rights. They will challenge medical authority, demand autonomy in childbirth. But there is a problem when you enter the birth in a fight mode. What happens? The birth doesn't work. And really, we can see that these fighters unfortunately need these interventions at the end. They are likely to hire a doula, but also as a fighter in her name. And then again, these women are outsourcing their responsibility in the birth. So this is a very common thing that I can see with doulas, that they are entering the birth space as the fighters for women, and I don't think that anybody benefits from that. So what we need to maybe reframe how we talk to women and how we prepare them, and what to do when we are in there with them, is try to empower them to use self-advocacy, to be informed, to have the autonomous decision, to use their rights, not to ask their rights. Because when you ask them, you will maybe be denied, and you already have this power. So doulas should believe in the woman's ability to be her own authority in birth. This is very crucial, because in many cultures, nobody believes in the woman's authority to be their own authority in birth. So how to break free from this fear and cultural expectation, how to make it? So we are doing this through bodily autonomy. When we explain women that there is no possibility for anybody to restrain their movement, well, in most of the Europe, unfortunately, there are some places that are physically restraining women. But if we teach them that if you just move your body, this is the first act of protection of your body. And it is maybe very, very hard to hear for women. They need to protect their body. It is a fact of life. You have to understand that you are responsible for movement. So they have to move as they feel. But what happens in the reality of the birth, because we as women are compliant, we want to be heard. What we usually, women try to communicate that, and then they ask, can they move? But when we ask to move and we get no, it is even harder to go through it. So it's very also important that we try to humanize medical authority. The villainization of doctors and midwives and nurses only creates more bigger hurdle for them to use their bodies, to use their rights. Because if they can see that this is not the institution, these are human beings that you can connect to, then it is easier to use their rights. So not fighting, but connecting with everybody in the birth. I know that many doulas and many mothers says, but this is not fair. I am giving birth. Why should I be the one who has to do this? And I agree, this is not fair, but life is not fair. And if we are waiting that somebody else does it for us, then we will learn pretty much when we became a mother, when the child is really our responsibility, that nobody will do it instead of us. I think this is a life lesson that is good to learn. So communication also in this delivery room. As I said, women in communication also are falling into the completely compliant, not even asking what is happening, so no communication, or the ones who are fighting and trying to communicate something that they don't need to communicate. So we are teaching our women through our human rights in a childbirth program that there is a third way. There is a no thank you. There is a connection with the medical worker, and you can say, when you move, I am so sorry that I complicated your shift, but I have to. Let's do this together. And it is amazing how the lack of fear and taking the responsibility can change the atmosphere of the room. And this is important. The biggest lesson we teach them is it is easier to ask forgiveness than to ask permission, to not ask permission to move. You can move this. There is no prison in the world that bans movement. It is all in our head. And if we liberate women from this prison that is in their head, they can say, I am sorry that I made your shift really difficult, but I will try it like this. So this is the key. So how doulas should empower women? It's all about the fear. The fear is the greatest problem here with the mothers, with the partners, with the society, with the medical staff. So we have to go deep with the fear of that, fear of repeat trauma, fear of child's life or something that will happen to this child, fear of pain, fear of interventions, and I would say, the most importantly, fear of the authority. Why is the authority so stressful for us? Also, we should always make guidance and preparations for unwanted scenarios. So all the birth workers know that you cannot plan birth, you cannot plan life, but women have to be okay with that. Let's be prepared for whatever happens. We have to accept the uniqueness of our life experiences and our mother's life experiences, and not all will choose to have their autonomy, and that is fine. We can only meet them where they are at. And very, very importantly, for the end, it's trying to teach them what is what, whose responsibilities, because we are talking about rights constantly, but women do not understand what is their responsibilities. So we have this my business, their business, and what's God's business. What is mother's business? She needs to be actively participating in birth, move the body without asking permission, because that is what we are doing constantly. Communicate from the adult position, not the child parent position, what happens in this communication with doctors. Help them understand what's the medical part of the birth. The doctors and midwives are here to monitor and help with the health of the mother and the baby, and provide medical help when needed and wanted. That is the only thing that is their responsibility. They are not here to provide us a great atmosphere. It is great when it happens, but release the expectation of a mother. It will be much easier to go through if she takes this responsibility on herself, if she takes the partner or somebody with her who will be responsible for this atmosphere. And always, always, always be aware that we do not have all the control. Sometimes things happen because they have to happen. And this is how we live our lives. This is how we drive our cars. This is how we do everything. And this is how we should give birth. So thank you. I hope I managed to squeeze into the 20 minutes.
Thank you, Anita. Such an amazing talk. I would say that you need to go on the chat and you need to see the comments of people, okay? Because there's not only questions, that even comments about, you know, it's so good to hear and refreshing to hear your perspective. And in some cases, people say that it's even, you know, give them hope on the perspective of doulas and how things are. We have just 1 minute, and we have here people that are, you know, that have been on this field for several years. So you really should go. And if you see questions, also answer those questions. It would be great if you could do it also on the chat. It's amazing what you talked about, you know, the different mindsets of women. It was very interesting, and some of the people say, you know, I see myself in that. I also see myself in that. That's great. Dr. Akan Shoker also did a wonderful comment there. Yeah, they are just greeting you for everything that you talk. Let me see. There was one question here that I thought, yeah.
Yes.
For instance, Jenny says, informed consent doesn't exist in any country. It's a fallacy. Another one is asking, is home birth illegal? This is a topic. Is home birth illegal, or are there just no midwifery teams to do it?
I would like to take the time to answer this question. So Croatia is in European Union, and we have the law that all medical workers that are registered in European Union can come and travel, and also as midwives. We do not have home birth midwives. We do not have the education, and because Croatian home birth midwives and Croatian midwives do not have the autonomy to be in the birth. But this is actually problematic because some midwives are coming to Croatia and helping out with the home birth. But recently we had a really a bad case where the law is trying to take the children from the mother because she had a home birth, she had a midwife, everything was okay, and the brutality of the state and trying to not allow this to happen is more and more, and we are really now afraid what will happen next, because it seems like the fascism is entering in this state.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that it's not only in your country. There are other countries that are there, and you will see in some of the talks here that they are talking about the same thing. And it's good that we are here together from different parts of the world, so people understand that it's not just happening. It's not something that it is a case in their country. There's something that is going on globally on shutting down not only these possibilities, but it feels like women are being threatened by what is going on. So I think,
yes, and that's why I'm thinking that this autonomy is such an important talk. Women have the autonomy on her bodies, on our birth, and this shouldn't be questioned. And we should all stand firmly with the women who chooses to have the autonomy.
Thank you so much, Anita. Again, please go on the chat. Look at it. I think you'll find it amazing what people are saying. Thank you so much for such information. Thank you.
Thank you so much.